Hello, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. It's so good to see you today. My name is Vix and this is my channel, Goddess of Gore, where I like to talk about horror, thriller, fantasy and sci-fi books. Today I want to tell you all about the six books I read last week. I had an amazing reading week with all 6 books being at least 4 stars. So, shall I just get on with the books then? So, after the worrisome 2 not very good books I read in the whole of the first week of July, I am so pleased to say that the second week evened out the balance once more, and I started with one of the oldies from my TBR, The Monk by Matthew Gregory Lewis. And to say this book is 230 years old and still has the ability to astound me is a mighty feat. Honestly, this book was stunning. Not exactly horror, although there were some off the page torturing going on, as well as some off the page sexual assault. But what was left unspoken was definitely made very clear. This is about a monk called Ambrosio. He is at first a very fine monk, wowing the Catholic crowds of Madrid with his almighty words during mass or whatever. People are actually travelling to hear his sermons. He's a celebrity monk. He's the bee's knees. He's actually summoning the word of the Lord and all that jazz. So he thinks he's pretty untouchable. Lately though, he's been eyeing up the Virgin Mary statue. Whoa, she's got some ripe and juicy melons on her. I think I might just give them a touch. But then his best friend Rosario suddenly disrobes and declares herself a woman in disguise. Well, Ambrosio is beyond excited. Breasts he can touch and fondle and play with to his heart's content. So these two then become secret lovers, all while Rosario, whose real name is Matilda, continues to live as a monk. Now you know how it is. Monk is having an affair. He gets really bored having sex given to him on a plate, and his eyes starts to wander, but this time it's a very young girl called Antonio. She's promised to another man, but the monk cannot stop thinking about her. He must have her. So Matilda, being all witchy, summons up the devil, and he gives her a magic branch that will open any locked door and also keep Antonio asleep while Ambrosio can have his wicked way with her. Obviously without her consent, which he gets as far as getting all of his clothes off in her room before her mum bursts in and says, "What the frick do you think you're doing?" He freaks out and kills the mother. Oh my god! And that was only half the story. The rest is wild. You should read this book if you haven't already. It was fantastic. It even includes a bit of necrophilia of a sort. Wild. I could talk about this book all day, but fret not, I won't. Next I read Lone Women at Last by Victor Lavalle. This was another entertaining book. This was wonderfully perfect. A good for her story that includes bigots, monsters and a serial killer mom. But it was also strangely cosy in a found family, female friendships kind of way. So, it's 1915 and we meet Adelaide as she's dousing her parents' home in gasoline, making her way through the rooms, splashing it all about. As she makes her way up the stairs, she goes into her parents' room. She makes sure that her dead parents lying in the bed, covered in blood, are also soaked in the fuel before throwing a match on the whole thing. Outside, a horse and cart are waiting with an old man who is going to take her, a huge steamer trunk and her bag to the ship that will start Adelaide's new life in Montana. Did she kill her parents? What is happening? What's going on? Well, Adelaide and her family have been keeping a secret her whole life, a secret that just cost her parents their lives, and it's going to take a lot more lives before the end of the book. When I say Adelaide comes with a lot of baggage, I mean she comes with a whole steamer trunk full of it. A lot of fun was had in this book, and it's super quick too. Then I read Gwendy's Final Task by Stephen King and Richard Chizmar. This was the final book from the shortlist that was up for a horror award that I am very delayed in reading through, but I will be recording my prediction and reaction to as soon as I film this, and I should have it ready and out in the next week or so. I have been avoiding Twitter and any horror information parts of social media like the plague in case I get the winner spoiled, so I can't wait to get that filmed, and that will be a load off my mind and I can get back to social media. Anyway, this is book 3 in the Button Box series, and you know what? I actually enjoyed this. The writing was absolutely stunning. I did check a couple of review sites to see if I did need to read the first 2 books before starting this, because I wasn't going to bother. I was just going to leave this one off the list. And apparently I didn't have to, but what they should have said was, you really should though. As the book goes on, it does lightly mention the previous instances of Gwendy receiving this button box, and I really do wish I had read them first. I may see if I can get them on audio or something, because they are really short reads. So this one, Gwendy Peterson finds herself faced with her last encounter with the mysterious button box at the ripe old age of 67. Tasked by Richard Farris, as she has in her previous encounters with the box, she now must dispose of it in outer space to keep the world safe from its malevolent influence. As Gwendy takes possession of the box, she encounters sinister forces determined to thwart her mission. Tragedy strikes when her husband is killed in a hit-and-run accident, and Gwendy herself begins to experience the early signs of Alzheimer's. Amidst her journey into space, she discovers that her house has been set on fire by individuals who sought to use the box for their own nefarious purposes. Honestly, Gwendy is having a hell of a year. This box can wipe out the entirety of Earth with a mere press of the button, and it seems that's exactly what the box wants her to do. It whispers to her, it tempts her, and it's done the same to every single person in whose care it has been placed, to the extent of turning them either insane or to suicide. However, as she travels to this space station, Gwendy discovers that Gareth Winston, a fellow millionaire passenger, is part of a conspiracy to prevent her from disposing of the box too. Winston reveals his desire to claim his own world with the box's power. With the help of the rest of the crew, does she manage to get rid of the all-powerful box? Well, you'll just have to read it and see. I followed that book up with Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle, and for some reason I have to call you all buckaroos while I review this. Don't know why. It just has to be done. So, buckaroos. Camp Damascus is a very unique but fun and campy horror novel that delves into the terrifying world of a godly gay conversion camp with a dark secret. Rose, who is trapped in a town known for this infamous camp, as she begins to question her surroundings and experiences strange goings-on, Rose's journey of self-discovery takes a chilling turn. This book is about trauma, gaslighting, cults, identity, and acceptance, all in the name of the goddamn Lord. Rose's neurodiverse perspective adds depth to the story. She is obsessive with facts and compulsive with the tapping of her fingers, as she navigates a society that tries to suppress her true self. While the plot to this story at first seems to follow the usual teenage tropes, it then takes horrific turns and twists, and just when you don't know which direction you're heading in, Chuck comes along and shows you the way. There are some genuine creepy visuals in this book, and you know what? I think that if Chuck keeps writing horror in this way, which he totally should. I mean, I'm not saying stop your weird creature gay erotica. You do you. But he really could be a match for Mr. Hendricks with this fun kind of horror. Now, listen up, buckaroos. If you love Grady, give this a go, because I'm not saying Chuck is on a par, but it's close enough. But how could I follow that book? Well, I did with Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. This was my local library book club choice for the month, and I bloody love this too. To say this is a debut is truly remarkable. It exceeded my expectations in every way. It's a delightful blend of intelligence, wit, originality, and yeah, it's a bit cheesy in that feel-good kind of way. But you know what? This author has made some amazing characters with the best sense of humour, even when it went to the worst of places. This is about Elizabeth Zott, a brilliant chemist who finds herself in the male-dominated world at Hastings Research Institute in the 1960s. Despite facing constant sexism and discrimination, she refuses to conform and remains true to herself. Elizabeth's resilience and determination make her an inspiring protagonist. The supporting cast is also wonderful and amazing, and all those kind of good words, as I found myself instantly attached to every single one of them. And a special mention goes to 630, a lovable and emotionally intelligent dog who stole the show. This dog has its own narrative. People. What's not to like? The writing is very easy to read. I ploughed through this, and although I didn't have it quite finished in the 3 hours I managed to spend on it before work and before book club, I was certainly over the halfway mark. I finished it before I went to bed that night. The chapters are magically short, which always makes the book faster somehow, and I went through all of the emotions while I was reading this book. Quite possibly not a book that I would choose to read if I had not had it chosen for me, but I really did enjoy it. And then, to finish off the week, I read All the Blood We Share by Camilla Bruce. This is my second book by this author after The Witch in the Well, and while that story infuriated me, it was partly due to Camilla creating such wonderful and despisable characters, and she went and did the same with this one. All the Blood We Share is a chilling and gripping tale that brings to life the true story of a notorious family of serial killers. And although the notes at the end explain Camilla's liberties she took with the real life story, she still brought the monstrous Bender family to life and gave a horrific glimpse into the depths of their evil and darkness. The book is told so well through multiple perspectives. I was never lost or confused about which story I was being told. I found it funny how each point of view slightly had told a different story to create their own kind of innocence. The narrations of Kate and Elvira, two members of the family, provide realistic and haunting insights into their true nature, and the inclusion of Hanson, a young boy from the town who forms a bond with the Benders while having doubts about their intentions. He added a questioning voice to the story. So this is set in 1873. The story revolves around the Bender family's move to Cherryvale in Kansas after fleeing their past crimes. Kate, the cunning but beautiful daughter, is a cold-blooded killer who struggles to restrain her urge for the power that murder gives her. Supported by her mother, Elvira, who raised her to be a different kind of criminal, Kate uses her fake ability to communicate with spirits and angels to deceive and gaslight their unsuspecting guests at the inn they built and run. The complex dynamics within the Bender family is so well described too. William, Kate's stepfather, believes in her supposed angelic connections and uses this knowledge to aid their murderous schemes. John, Kate's stepbrother, is obsessed with her and is willing to do anything to protect their dark secrets. It paints a vivid picture of the family's heinous acts, and their manipulation of religion and spirituality for their own greed. The book delves into the disturbing minds of the Benders, showcasing their cold-bloodedness and their disturbing family life. It reminded me of the Michael McDowell character of Katie with her beloved hammer that she uses to bash unsuspecting people's heads in, and the family covering up the murders. So, again, if you love that book, I think you would love this too. Kate is a fantastic female murderer, and this book really showcases the historic Kansas of the 1800s, as well as the power a pretty woman can have on the men in a small town. So that's it. If you have read any of these books, do you agree or disagree with me? Or have I talked you into reading one of these books? Let me know in the comments. I feel like I really hit the jackpot this week with the books that I pulled out of my Star TBR jar. In case you didn't know, I make a TBR, write all the titles down on Lucky Star paper, fold them all up, stick them in a jar, shake the jar, pull one out, unfold it again. So fate chooses the order I read them, as it were. How has your week been? I hope you had as good a week as me and everything turned out really well. Let me know what you are pleased about, or what you consider yourself lucky about last week. Don't forget to like the video if you did, and subscribe if you want to stick around for a while longer. As I said, there will be an award prediction video this week and a new books coming out in July video too. I will leave you, as I always do, with a quote from one of the books I read this week. If you want, you can have a guess what it's from in the comments. This is my parents' worst nightmare, I announced, gazing at the living room ceiling with a pillow behind my head. Their gay daughter and her lesbian girlfriend in a spooky old farmhouse doing drugs with a metalhead. Make some good book choices this week, my friends, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until next time, bye bye.